Hey, thanks for joining me. So I get questions from time to time from people wanting to get started in medium format film photography. They want to know how to do that. And there might be a number of reasons you want to look into medium format film photography. Perhaps you've been shooting 35 millimeter. You want to take a step up in terms of negative size and image quality. But maybe you don't want to dip your toe too deep in that pond. And there's some ways to do it. Medium format film cameras range from very inexpensive to incredibly expensive, everything in between. But I think the twin lens reflex is the way to do it without spending a tremendous amount of money, but still getting a camera that can produce professional quality results, and they're just a ton of fun to use. So I want to show you some different cameras on the workbench that are available, talk about what is available and why I think the twin lens reflex is such a great way to get started. Okay, let's look at some cameras. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. Basically, starting out, a twin lens reflex is a camera, of course, that has two lenses. The bottom lens looks straight back to where the film goes, and the top lens is a viewing lens. There's a mirror in here at a 45-degree angle. The image is reflected off the mirror, and you can see it on the ground glass in the viewfinder. One thing to note is that view is reversed right to left. So if something moves in the image, it's going to look backwards in your viewfinder. If it moves from, left to right in front of you, it's going to move from right to left in the viewfinder. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but that's something to be aware of. If you're shooting, people moving, definitely is going to take some getting used to. If you're just shooting, landscapes or static images, then not a big deal. But keep in mind what you are looking at is reversed right to left. Twin lens reflex cameras are available in a wide variety of brands and prices. I would stick with either those made by Yashica or Yashica, however you want to say it, or those made by Rolleicord, like this Rolleicord. There's a lot of other brands that are really good. The problem is they're not available in the quantity, and there are some that, while great cameras, just are not as robust. I'm not going to pick on any of them in particular. I think if you're getting started, the main thing about these is the availability. You can get online and find Yashica and Rolleicord twin lens reflexes in abundance. And because of that, the prices are pretty reasonable. You can get a Yashica A in good working condition for just $100 or maybe a little bit more. The Yashica Mats, especially like the Yashica Mat 124G, are going to be more expensive, starting like these are started around maybe a couple hundred, maybe a little less, but the Yashica Mat 124Gs are definitely going to be in the $200 range. Rolleicords start at about $200 and go up from there. The Rolleicord is a less expensive version of the Rolleiflex and a little simpler in operation. And again, I'm not going to try to make this a how to operate the camera kind of video. Basically, most of these simpler ones, you have to cock the shutter and then fire it in some way. The Yashica A, you cock the shutter and push the button. The Yashica Mats and the Rolleiflexes have a crank that winds the film and cocks the shutter, which is convenient, a little bit more advanced. Some of the lower-end Yashicas use a 3-element triplet lens. They'll have a lens name like Yashica or Yashimar. This is a Yashimar. Those that have a 4-element Tessar type prescription lens are going to say Yashinan on them. So those are, if you're really wanting the better image quality, the Yashinan is the way to go. The 3-element Cook triplet type lenses, however, if you stop them down a little bit, will rival one of these in terms of image quality. They really do an amazing job. You're just not going to want to shoot it wide open as much, unless you're wanting kind of a softer, dreamier kind of look. Keep in mind, however, that this is a Cook triplet, and there's a ton of people looking for 3-element Cook triplet lenses to get the image effects that they produce for mirrorless cameras. And so if you want some of that same 3-element Cook triplet look, one of these inexpensive Yashicas is the way to go. The Rolleicords, the Rollie cameras versus the Yashicas, they're just a little bit higher build quality. These are going to be a little bit more robustly made, a little bit more precision made. I find that they just feel more solid, more refined when using them. But these Yashicas, I mean, you look at them, they look very similar and operate in very similar ways. Now, I don't have a Rolleiflex here. The Rolleiflexes are the higher end versions of the Rollei line and can either have a Tessar type lens like a Zeiss Tessar, or they could have a double Gauss designed lens or a planar designed lens like a Zeiss planar, or the Schneider Xanatar lens. The Rolleicords typically have, I don't know how you pronounce it, Xanar, starts with an X. These are a 4-element Tessar type prescription. You want to make sure when you're getting one that you see this red triangle in the lens. This indicates that the lens is coated. There are some Rolleicords, some early ones that have a Zeiss Triatar, which is a 3-element lens, kind of like this Yashica, and they're typically not coated. So I would generally steer away from those and try to get one with the Xanar. And this is a Rolleicord 4. The Rolleicord 4 introduced this double exposure prevention switch. Prior models didn't really have anything that prevented you from double exposing your images, kind of like the Yashica A. You can just cock the shutter and fire it all you want without winding film. This one, when you have the switch set in the protected area or mode, you can't cock the shutter until you wind the film, and you can't wind the camera until you've taken a picture, so it prevents you from doing double exposures. But you can flip the switch down and then you can double expose to your heart's content if you want to do that. Most of these are going to have a knob for focus, a knob for wind. The Rolleiflexes and the Yashica Mats rather, are going to have a lever that you wind and cock the shutter, and your focus is probably going to be on the other side. So how you use them is a little bit different. These you're going to probably cradle in your right hand and use your finger to press the button, focus with your left hand, then switch hands to wind the camera. The Rolleicords and like the Yashica A's, you're going to cradle it in your left hand and use your left hand to operate the shutter and then focus and wind with your right hand. So just a little bit different in the way you use them, but either one's pretty easy to get used to. Okay, there's a lot going for these cameras. I mean, the image quality from them, like I said, is definitely they can render professional quality results. They're pretty robust cameras. No camera takes well to being dropped, but like this Rolleicord has been around since 1953 or 1954, and other than just doing a little cleaning on it, it is ready to go. I mean, the camera, they're very robust. They hang in there. There's a fantastic history with twin lenses. If you look at some of the most famous photographers, you'll see a lot of them using Rolleiflexes. Recently, Netflix came out with a movie, I think it's called Lee, but it's about Lee Miller, a woman combat photographer during World War II that used Rolleiflexes. And there's a lot of others. So there's a great history with these. When you're using one of these cameras, you're really part of a really great history tradition in using twin lens cameras. These cameras hold their value. If you buy one of these, keep it in good shape, and decide you want to upgrade, you won't have any trouble selling it for probably more than what you put into it, as long as you keep it in good working order. There's a broad range of cameras. I have several. I didn't really even lay out here. This is like a Yashica 635. It's called that because you can actually put 35 millimeter film in it. There's an adapter that goes in here, and you can load 35 millimeter film. It shoots then with the 80 millimeter lens. It shoots a vertical 35 millimeter image with an 80 millimeter lens, which not a bad thing for portraits. Rollei also made an adapter that could do that with this camera, where it's called a Rolleicord, I think it is. Rollei also made some accessory drop-in Fresnel screens called a Rollei Clear that brightens the edges of your view. They made a sheet film back for this. You can actually take the back door off of it. There's a Rollei made just a ton of accessories. They made a neat grip that goes on here, attaches. That's what these two little spots here on the front are for attaching a grip on the bottom with a pistol grip. It uses a cable release to fire it. Rollei made just a ton of accessories. So for any of these, there are some other accessories. This is a Yashica close-up lens. So Some of these, like this Yashica Mat and the Rollie, have what's called a bayonet 1 or bay 1 bayonet system around the lenses. And you can take one of these accessory lenses and it just bayonets on, and then this viewing lens locks on, and it has a little red dot on the top of it here that tells you it's the top. This lens actually angles your view downward. This is a close-up lens, allows you to focus really close and take close-up pictures. Rollie made these as well as Yashica, and so there are accessories that you can get. Yashica also made, and other companies made, accessory lenses. This is actually made by Sun Optical, which was a Japanese maker, but this is a wide angle lens set. So that's the viewer. This is the taking lens, and this gives you now makes your camera into a wide angle camera. They made telephoto versions of these also. They're not as good as a dedicated, like a Mamiya with a wide angle or telephoto lens, but they're respectably good. I mean, they're better than you would think. These are not too hard to find online. If you find a real Yashica brand, it's probably going to be more expensive than something like this Sun Optical, but these do an amazingly good job. So there's a ton of accessories available for these. I've had some people ask me why not use just a folding camera, something like a Zeiss Netar or maybe like this Olympus 6. Well, I love these cameras, and if you've watched some of my videos, you've seen I've done videos on Folklander Bessas and on Zeiss the Iconta, and I've got others that I'm looking at doing videos on. I've got a Minolta folder that is pretty neat. It's a 645 folder. The problem is, especially with the Japanese ones, the bellows are really thin. If you're going to get a folder, the German ones are better, but there's no accurate focusing on this. You have to either use a separate rangefinder to set your focus or guesstimate your focus. And consequently, your focus is, especially if you're shooting up close, is not going to be very precise. I just don't find that for a person that's wanting to be able to produce professional quality results in a lot of different situations, this is not going to be as successful. So, I mean, these aren't bad if you're just shooting at distance, at landscape kind of stuff, but if you're wanting to shoot closer up and shoot people, portraits, and things like that, it's going to be hard to nail your focus with one of those. And any one of these kind of cameras that has a built-in rangefinder, they're going to be more expensive than one of these probably. So, anyway, that's the twin lens reflex. These all use 120 film. The Yashica Mat 124G also can use 220 film, though I don't know that there's too many people making 220 anymore. But if you're looking for a way to get started in medium format, I don't think you can do it with any camera better than a good twin lens reflex. And if you go with one of the Yashicas, or certainly one of the Rolleicords or Rolleiflexes, if that's not out of your price range, I think you're just going to be really happy. If I had to choose, if I had, say, $250 to spend, I probably would go with the Rolleicord. I could get maybe some features with the Yashica, like the crank wind, that I wouldn't get with the Rolleicord, but the build quality and the image quality is just enough better on the Rolleicord that I don't know, I think I would probably go that direction. If I'm on a really tight budget, only got maybe $150 to spend, something like the Yashica A or the 635, or one of those that has the 3-element lenses, not a bad way to go either. Definitely a very inexpensive way to create some really excellent images. Anyway, that's twin lens reflexes. Well, I hope some of that information was helpful for you. If you're looking to get started in medium format film photography, you've got a lot of choices. And there's a broad range of twin lens reflex cameras available, from ones like this that are pretty inexpensive to some pretty high dollar ones. You can really fall about wherever you like, but I think there's probably no better camera to build a foundation in medium format film photography than a twin lens reflex. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. If you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I always love hearing from you. And as always, thanks for watching.